Well, here's one of the drawbacks of Rococo. As you can see here, Wagner, made in USA, made in Italy. Same part number, 6716, 60716. Both Wagner, blah blah blah. You know, and they're great for cheap and stuff like that, but you got to watch it because sometimes this is what you get. This is the this is actually the made in USA one, and this is the made in Italy one. So rust on this one isn't that big a deal. I'll scotch write that off and put that rotor on. They're dimensionally the same. This one just doesn't have the reliefs in here. No clue why. Anyway, this one, the rust is actually pitted in, so it needs turned, which isn't part of what I have any plan on doing right now. So basically, I'm gonna scotch brite it down, wire wheel it, clean it up as nice as I can for Damon, and he's just gonna have to pull them off and take them down and get them turned. So yeah, that's part of the drawback of Rococo and saving a couple of bucks. It's not, for as cheap as they are, it's not worth trying to return them. Well, they actually seem to be cleaning up okay. This is the worst of the two, and I'm just hitting it with the wire wheel here, and what looked to be pockmarks was just different color. Once I'm taking it off, there's some really tiny ones, but not big like what I thought there was, and you can still see the machining marks. So if it's still got a little pulsing when he gets the pads seated in and that stuff, he'll just have to do it at that point. But I think we're good to go now. So. Yeah, that ought to work out okay. Okay, these are the same Harbor Freight rotors I showed just earlier there, except I got to spend 15-20 minutes or so on the bench grinder with a wire wheel and get them cleaned up. So, wasn't fun, but that was faster than trying to go get other ones. Alright, let's start prepping the hub for the rotors. So these have they have a little rust here around here and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a rag in here. I've got the old seal in there, so it doesn't matter if I damage or anything. If I go ahead and hit the edge up there a little bit, that'll just make it that much easier to Now, normally I wouldn't bother with, you know, trying to keep all the debris out of the thing here because I'd be putting new bearings and stuff like that. But the bearings and the grease in here are just fine. So rather than put new ones in, we're just going to go ahead and leave those on. So I just want to make sure that I can get the rotor on there without having to fight with it too much. Alright, I put the rubber jaws in. Most guys don't have a vise that opens up wide enough to grab it like that, but this is a seal puller. Makes easy work of getting in there and yanking that seal out, and it will kill it. You can sometimes very carefully with a pry bar pull the seal out to reuse it. So if you oops and you know, mess up your seal or whatever. Now the challenge is that you're pushing down on this side and you're likely going to dent it, but you got to try to get down underneath there and catch the metal. So you could try it. I'm running out of time and patience. So, come on. And of course the rubber jaws have their downside. It's almost out. Pretty poor example, but there we go. Alright, so that seal is out. It's not much different, than, if any, than the seal going in. Yep. I don't see any bluing or scoring or anything like that. And the owner didn't provide new bearings, so these are going back in. So, yeah, it is exactly the same bearing. So these must be fairly early, because these are 79-620 seals. The FM number is 2002, and the SKF number is 21040. So, anywho, I still need to set up the seal thingy. That one looks pretty good. We're driving it down flush, so that one looks about perfect. So if you're putting in bearings, put a taper side down. If you're putting in seals, put it flat side down, and then go chase down a hammer. I basically want it down flush. I don't want it protruding at all. Yep, I like that. You can put it down far enough that it touches the race. Yeah, which wasn't even another 1/16 of an inch. So, good to go. Okay, now brake rotor. We'll throw the weird one on first. And so when you go to the scrapyard and you get your hubs, make sure you keep these 6 bolts. And if you can't get them off at the yard, pay for the rotor and take them, because you know you're going to have a really hard time finding these bolts somewhere. Okay, now I will look up the torque spec and torque those, but that'll be on another take. Getting ready to torque those bolts. I've already got them installed. Let's come over and take a quick peek at the manual here. And there we go. And this is an 84 or later. And you can tell that from the fact that it's got a vented rotor. Prior to 84, they had these the thin ones like the 620. So anyway, so we're looking at rotor to hub bolts 36 to 51. So we're going to shoot somewhere in that 45-50 range. So to get to the 50, we're going to do a crisscross pattern here. I've shown this before, but I'll shoot it again because, you know, it's a whole lot easier to shoot a new video and edit it in with all the rest of this than it is to go back and try to find that other footage. Anyway, I want to make sure that you know, the head of my torque wrench isn't going to drag anywhere. This is a click torque wrench. I've got it set for 20. Okay, we're going to step it up. And just like putting your lug nuts on your car. Now with this particular torque wrench, you got to watch it because there's no lock on here. So Let's step it up to 40. Okay, and then let's go to 50, and I'm using the smaller 3/8 torque wrench intentionally because the 50 pounds is up more in the middle of the range. Okay, this one will go to 80. If I was using it on the long 1/2 inch torque wrench, you know, that one goes up a whole lot higher, and 50 is down near the bottom end. So the closer you can get to the middle of the range, the more accurate it's going to be for you. So, and it's easier because this one's smaller. I don't have to deal with the extra length and that stuff. It's plenty big enough for what I'm doing. And it certainly helps to have the vise. And I'm just going to go back over and double check each of them. There we go. Okay, that one's done. I don't think I'm going to bother showing the other one. It's the exact same process. Alright, something else you want to do just before you put it on. This still has nearly new grease in it. You want to wipe a little film of that grease on the seal there. And I'm even getting it on the outer lip because when you put it on onto that bearing adapter and that stuff where it hits, you want it to slip up on and be able to pop back the way it's supposed to. So you don't want dry rubber there where it might get hung up. So I'm just making sure the whole surface inside the seal and then the little outer edge there is got a smear of grease on it. Because if you put the rubber on dry and it drags against that bare metal surface, it'll end up killing the seal awful quick. Alright, these lock tabs get reused on the 521s, the SAE trucks and stuff. So what I'm going to do is before I wire wheel them to clean them up a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and tap them flat and then wire wheel them. Well, let's move on to mounting up the brake bracket. Before I go doing the brake hose, I want to get the caliper and everything ready so that when I pop that line, I don't have to have it open any longer than I have to. So, anyway, the new bolts go back on with the stock retainer there. This would be a good time to check. Yeah, the new ones are a hair longer. Basically, they're they're 1/16 of an inch or so longer. So they go in plenty far enough. And then this one's get a bit longer. Lock nut goes on the back. To keep the nut from spinning. Now, there's really not a whole lot of slop in these holes. Let me get them down. So it still moves. You know, there's not much there. So So, but what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to go ahead and clock it so that way when the brakes hit, you know, and it's rotating this way, it'll tend to do it like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn that thing that direction, just in case these were to happen to you put enough, stopped hard enough that these slid. That way you wouldn't have to hear them go thunk. Setting the torque to 40, double checking your book, look it all up. 40 or 45? To 40. Oh, let me double check the book real quick. 39 to 46 for the caliper backing bolts. So I'm going to put these up at about 40. That ought to be tight enough. Okay, and I'm going to let the back wrench move over to where it stops itself. Okay. And let's go 45. 46 was the upper limit. All right. So, oh man. Try to get everything ready and then forget and then move it. Okay, so what I just did is I'm locking the tab back down there. So whichever one of the two seems to line up with the flat better, just use that one. Get it started. And that locks it in. So that bracket's done. Okay, so these are the hard body bearings. Okay, and just go right on there. It is the whole point of the adapters to use the hard body bearings. But you're going to want to use the washer that came off from the 521 and the nut. Okay, now let's we'll get the cotter pin, and I'm gonna go through how I set the wheel bearings. Okay, but this is me. Don't, you know, the whole disclaimer kind of thing. You know, look it all up, get your own opinion, your own facts. You know, if you're not comfortable with it, then get professional help. So I'm going to keep rotating it and get it down good and firm, far more firm than it would ever run at. Okay. And what that's doing is that's squeezing all those roller bearings and races and everything and grease and that stuff and getting it to seat down good and tight to make sure that you're not just, you don't have one in there slightly cattywampus and you tighten against that once and call it good and then everything's really sloppy loose. So I tend to rotate them both directions. I get it nice and firm. Now let's back it off until it becomes finger loose. Now I finger tightened it up and I'm past that hole, but I'm on this one. Now just for feel, yeah, see, to get to the next hole, that's tighter than I want it. I don't like how tight that is. Okay, so I'm going to redo it again. Basically, you're preloading the bearings. Okay. And some cars say back off a quarter turn. Others say you know, torque to a certain preload, back it off, torque it again to another. But once you preload it, I don't think I've ever read any book that said spin the wheel. Preload it, get your nut adjustment, then you can spin it. But don't don't spin it after you preload it. All you're going to do is just walk all those bearings right back out. It's counter to what you're trying to do. So I have that set so that that goes in. So let's see here. I want it to spin. Now, a lot of manuals too will have a spec for putting a pull gauge on here and seeing how hard it is to turn this. Okay, I like that, and there's no bearing wobble, you know, which is really kind of hard to tell against the kingpins here and stuff like that. But I do like the way that goes, so I'm going to call that good. And of course I don't have my pliers with me, so I'm sure there's some aircraft specifications to exactly how you're supposed to do that, but and then the cap. Put the cap on, and it's ready to have the caliper put on. How about that? Okay, on the other side I'm going to do the same thing. Just set up and whip right through it. Well, as long as I got the tripod set up down this low, I'm going to go ahead and prep the rotors. So, brake cleaner again, clean rag, hold it flat against the rotor there, and what we're looking to do is wipe off any of the grease and residue. Look at all that, huh? So, not surprised at all to see that, considering how much wire wheeling we had to do. Okay, so we'll use another side here too. Okay, new rag. Wow, those kingpins are bad. We're finally getting pretty good there. We're barely picking any up on the fingers. The rest of it's off the edge here. So, okay, I can live with that. First time he drives it, he's going to get that much dust on it anyway, but it's not, it's certainly not grease or oil or anything. It's just left over from the rust and stuff like that. So.